right? Like salesman, like a sales position, or you make them? I'm just trying to get a better idea of what kind of job you do. Sales. Okay, well, sales is tough. There's always a lot of pressure in sales, you know? To be honest with you, I don't think it's very possible in most industries today to be in sales and be completely honest. You can't really be a completely honest person in sales today because you have to make money. Somebody's not being honest. Somebody's saying how much it costs and how much it really costs is different, right? That's not honest. I mean, it's business, but it's still not honest. So, there are two ways that people usually deal with work. One is you do a job that you like. If you do a job that you like, it's not so stressful. Sometimes it still has stress, but it's not as bad as doing a job that you don't like. But if you do a job that you don't like, which is true for many, 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 many people, unfortunately, then you need to make that job has to be worth it, which means, for example, my friend Kurt, he has a job as a medical salesperson. He sells medical equipment, right? And I don't think he's very passionate about that job. I don't think he really loves that work or has any real feelings about that work. It's just a job. And it could be better, it could be worse, right? Okay, but he doesn't really love it or have any passion for it. But it pays pretty well. So he uses the money from that job to go skiing and mountain biking and camping and hiking and fishing and all the things that he loves to do, right? So his job pays him so that he can go enjoy his life. So you have to be able to go out and do some things. Are you going out and doing anything? Are you enjoying life at all? What do you do? If all you have is work, then yes, life will be terrible. Life is not supposed to be only work. So, you have to figure out what can you do to bring joy to your life. What do you enjoy doing? Start doing it more. Okay, like my sister, my little sister. She was never very much into music that much. When we were growing up, she was not that into music. But just recently, in the last 5 years, she started a record collection, collecting records, and she has a record player and a nice stereo system that she listens to them on, and she's exploring music like I've never seen before. And it's amazing, it's beautiful. It's a hobby that she's really pursuing with some happiness, some joy. She's exploring and having fun doing it, right? So do you have anything that you do? What do you do? You have to have something. Hello, Abdullah and Hazal and Raymond. Thank you, Raymond. All right, if you have questions, give me your questions. Well, that's interesting. I was just reading about the history of the word talent, everybody, and it's very interesting. The word talent, a long time ago, the word talent was actually a weight. It was actually a weight, an amount of weight, and it was a sum of money. And then later, it had a meaning of a gift that was given to you for for use and improvement. It was a gift given to you by God. Your talent was a gift given to you by God, and this says that talents are something that God gave you, and so that if you don't pursue them, on the final day of judgment, you will have to account for the why you didn't pursue it, why you didn't pursue the talent that God gave you. That's interesting. I never knew that about the word talent. You feel so lonely and empty. Why, Raymond? What's wrong? How can you improve vocabulary without memorizing them? You need to do this. You have to read my article about vocabulary. Read that article, Hazal. Okay? That article will answer your question completely. And hello, Mahana. I don't even know what to say to the people of Iran. I just don't even know what to say. Other than it's good to see you back, and I hope that you're okay. I know those words have little meaning. You like your boss because he's very smart and kind, but he's 71, and how can I solve this problem? Well, why is him being 71 a problem? What's the real problem? You're not telling me something. You're not telling me something. Just because he's 71 doesn't mean anything. He could be 71 and be completely perfect. So why is the age 71 a problem? Is he becoming more difficult? Is he becoming, less patient? Is he not aware of the new changes in the world with technology or something? Like, what's the reason? You think you should not like him. Why? What's wrong with liking your boss? I think it's usually a good thing to like your boss. Most people want to be in a place where they like their boss. If you like your boss, it means you can respect him. Because he's very old? Well, that's called ageism. That's called ageism. There's no reason to dislike somebody just because they're old. How old do you think I am? How old are you? Maybe the problem is not that he's so old. Maybe the problem is you're too young. He treats you like his child. Well, how old are you? You're 30. Okay. So in China, there is a bit of a problem with this one thing, which is that you have two cultural ideas that make it very difficult to be completely honest there. One is the concept of saving face, where you can't embarrass anybody publicly by telling them anything directly that might embarrass them, right? So because of the culture of face culture, many people are afraid to say what they really think. And then on top of that, you also have the culture of respect your elders. Respect your elders. And sometimes it's like respect your elders, even if they're wrong, just respect them anyway. And we don't really do that here. We don't really do that here. What I mean is we still respect people when they get older, but we don't respect you just because you're old. Age must come with wisdom. If you're old and still ignorant, then that's not something to respect. That's not something to respect. As you grow older, you are supposed to continue to learn. Even as you get very old, you're supposed to still try to grow. That's the way I feel. So, it's very tricky. All right. I know this because when I was in Taiwan, for example, I remember the first year that I worked at this school in Taiwan, I went to my boss and I told her, I said, well, this is wrong and we need to fix this at your school and this needs to be fixed and this needs to be fixed. And I told her all these things that I thought were wrong about her school. And I didn't realize that I was completely insulting her. Because I'm criticizing her school. That's what she made. So the way I went about it was very American. We are very direct, often. The way we talk here, we're often very direct with each other, especially if we have any kind of relationship with each other. I want to be direct with my friends, and I want my friends to be direct with me. But being direct doesn't always work. And I went about it the wrong way, and I embarrassed her, and I had to apologize, and I had to tell her, look, I'm not trying to insult your school. I want to help. That's why I made these suggestions, because I believe in this school, and I think it can be better, and that's why I'm here. But I'm not trying to insult you and what you've done. But if you want me here, what's the point of having me if it's not going to be different? Otherwise, you just do what you're normally doing with the Chinese teacher, right? So we did come to an agreement. We did come to an understanding, but we had to talk about it. We had to talk about it. So what I would say is you have a choice. Either you can deal with it, and it's probably going to be that way for Another 5 years, maybe longer, because who knows when he decides to retire, right? Maybe he retires when he's 90. You don't know. Maybe he retires next year. So if he retires next year, then deal with it. Just deal with it. It's not worth fighting about. If the end of the road is right there, just go to the end of the road. Okay? Sometimes it's not worth arguing about the directions. Just let them go to the end of the road. Okay? All right, let's see. Do I have any reading strategies? Because when you start reading a new English book, you're eager to know the story itself, but you can't digest the new vocabulary. That means that you're reading something that's too hard for you. First of all, my first strategy is don't read books necessarily. Try short stories. When you're reading a second language, maybe you need to do something that's a little bit smaller, because you need something that doesn't require so much focus, right? So there are many, many websites that have short stories of every level, and you can read short stories, and then in a short story, even if there's a lot of new vocabulary, it's a short story. So you can absorb that much vocabulary in one short story. But if you're reading a new book and every page has 10 or 20 new words, you can't absorb that many words. That's too much. Okay? So, fewer than 10, maybe. Right? If there are less than 10 words on a page, maybe you can do that. But if there are more than 10 new words on one page and you have to read 500 pages, good luck. That's going to be too hard for you. You can't follow the story with that much confusion. Okay. Okay. Yeah, right. That's right. Okay, first of all, Evelyn, who's talking about news? Evelyn, who is talking about news other than you? You came here just to say that? That's all you have to say? Really? LOL. Okay, Evelyn. Good one. Good one, Evelyn. Really good one. You got us. Nobody was talking about that. Okay, Evelyn, I don't have time for this. Thank you, though. Okay? Bye. Am I fake? No, I'm not fake. I'm not sure what we're talking about anymore. Okay, I'm waiting for questions. I think the lady from China pointing for a phrase about mining and looking for metal materials. What? I don't know what that means, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to take the bait. That's called taking the bait. I'm not taking the bait. Find another sucker. You have a problem with spelling. Adam, so spelling in English is tricky because spelling, English words come from many languages. So each language has different spelling rules and spelling style, right? So, for example, the word restaurant or the word ennui, right? The word ennui, that's a French word, okay? And the word cafe, it's a French word. Those are French words. That's why we spell them that way and pronounce them that way, right? But then there are some words like the word though, Though, with all those silent letters. That's an Old English word that the pronunciation changed over time. So the reason why it's spelled that way is because a long time ago it was pronounced though. It had this sound at the end. So that's that GH at the end of the THOUGH. That GH used to be pronounced, but it's not anymore. But we still keep the spelling because if you change the spelling, now you lose the history of the word, right? So sometimes the reason a word is spelled the way it is to help us know where it came from. And if you changed it, then you'll lose that sense. Okay? All right. Hello, Marco. Do I know something about pragmatism? Sure. Pragmatism is just being pragmatic. To be pragmatic means to think about, it's the idea that all of your ideas or beliefs are based on the ideas of practical consequences, like rational practical consequences. Can I share my link to learn English? Sure. Go to my website. Here, I'll tell you what. This is my link here. Go to this link, copy this link, and paste it into your browser, and everything you need to know about me is in that link. Okay, so my website is in that link, and on my website there are many, many, many links to study English, okay, for free. So you can find my website, you can find my YouTube, you can find my blog, and many other things, including my schedule, in that link, okay? The word sesame, well, you spelled it wrong, but you're right. It's not originally English. Originally, the word is Greek and Latin. Sesame is from the word, I think it was sesamum or something like that. It's sesamon. It was a word from Greek and from Latin that just meant the fruit or seed of the sesame plant. Please tell you some exercises to go from level A1, A2, or above. Okay, Penny, one of the best ways for you to go in that level is to go to this website. If you're in the A1, A2 level, then you should spend a lot of time on this website, gamestolearnenglish.com. They have games for vocabulary. Look, this is the website I just gave you. It's free. Monster Vocabulary. You can study vocabulary like animal words, food words, clothes words, jobs, transportation, personal words, sports, home, computer, nature, buildings, body, music, subjects, right? And you can even add your own if you want to. They have a section here where you can add your own images and add your own pictures and words and whatever you want to, if you want to make your own vocabulary list. Okay? And they also have games for adjectives and phrases and idioms and for countries and for directions and prepositions and past tense and body parts and adverbs and jobs and clothes, phrasal verbs, simple present. Look how much. It's amazing. And it's just games. It's just games. And by the way, here's a good one for spelling. Hangman. You guys know this game, Hangman? It's a famous game in America. The kids play this, and it's a really creepy game. But look, so let's play the game. Wait, start. So here's what you do. You have to guess this word, right? So you start by guessing with the A-E-I-O-U. Okay, so it's an animal, and it has two E's. What do you think this is? Oh, you guys can't see it. Wait, sometimes it's screwy. Wait a minute. Try again. Okay, can you see now? Okay, so there's two E's. What do you think this word is? It's an animal. So you have to guess, right? So maybe let's guess S. Is there an S? There is. There's an S. Look, sheep. There we go. So then you guess S-H-E-E-P. Look, see, that's good for spelling. This is good for spelling practice. You understand? Right? So A-E-I-O-U. It's an animal. Oh, this one's easy. An animal that starts with E. Elephant. That's right. E-L-E-P-H, right? A-N-T. Okay, no, I didn't make it. Nope, I didn't make it. It's just a wonderful website that I use. Okay? If you go to my website, you will find many, many websites like this one. Okay? So my website is right here. This is my website. If you want to buy lessons from me, if you want to take lessons with me, you can. You can buy lessons from me here. Okay? But you can also go up here to resources. If you click on resources up here, look at this. Teacher Mark's top English resources. If you want to study reading, click on reading. There are a bunch of links. If you want to study writing, listening, IELTS, TOEFL, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, speaking, it's all here. So if you want to work on grammar, go here. GamesToLearnEnglish.com, BBC English Grammar, Dave's English Grammar Cafe, LO English Grammar, Wyzant English Grammar, activities for ESL students, Easy World of English Grammar. Okay? All on my website. Okay? So the word sesame is, so you're kind of right, almost. You're mostly right. It's Latin and Greek, and before that it was Phoenician, and before that Babylonian, and Assyrian. In Babylonian it was Shawash Shamu, and in Assyrian Shamash Shamu. And in that language, it meant oil seed. Oil seed. Okay, so you're right. It goes back earlier than Latin and Greek, but it goes to Phoenician and Babylonian and Assyrian. Yeah. But how it came to Arabic, you're probably right how it came to Arabic. I wouldn't know how it came to Arabic. I am showing you how it comes to English. Okay? But your history is probably right how it came to Arabic. Do TED Talks use proper and correct English? Most of them, yes. I think TED Talks are great because almost everyone that they get uses good English. They speak well. I say almost because I haven't seen every one, so I don't know. But I would say most of them, yeah. They have a very high standard of speaking. It's almost the same pronunciation. Oh, that's interesting. Sim sim. Ah, interesting. Okay, once again, hit me with your questions. That's why I'm here. Oh, I think I missed your question, Rena. I'm sorry. If a company where you already left because of distance or another thing, they asked you to come to that company again, what will you do? You already left once because of distance or some other thing, and they ask you to come back, they're going to have to make a good offer. If they want you back, it better be a good offer. They need you, or they wouldn't have asked you back, right? They could have gotten somebody new. So if they make you a good offer, then you have to think about it. Is it worth the money to deal with the distance? Is it worth the money to deal with whatever other problems you had? If they made a good offer, then maybe it's worth it for a while, maybe temporarily. You know, maybe you go do that for a year or two, if you can, you know. Okay? No, I am not drinking iced coffee. I am drinking hot water with honey and lemon still. I might continue this trend. We'll see. It's expensive, though, to buy all those lemons. They said they'll get you a new car and a new house and more money. Wow, geez. Well, then, I don't know. That sounds like you should think about it. That sounds like you should think about it. Yasmin, I don't invite people on stage unless they have a question. And you have to be a regular of my stream. Like, I don't like to invite brand new people on my stream because you don't know anything about what we're doing. And there are 44 people here who expect me to do something. And if I bring somebody on stage and they don't know who I am, they don't know what I do, they don't know what we're doing, now everybody has to watch that, and it's not worth it. I'm sorry. So if you're new, you should watch for a while, okay? But 90,000 people follow me for some reason, okay? Probably there's a reason why they follow me, okay? But that company has too much work for you to do. Well, then you can negotiate that too. You can negotiate that too, Rena. You could say, well, you have to hire me an assistant too. You have to hire me an assistant. Okay? Or something like that. Or I'll come back, but I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing this. You know? Something like that. Right? That's what that happened to me once, where a school wanted me to come back, and I said, "Okay, I'll come back," but I'm not doing these. They used to do these things where you had to to demonstrate your abilities to the boss every month. Every month, the boss would come stare at you while you're teaching, and evaluate you. And it was stupid, and it did not help. It only made the teachers feel like they were not respected. And that's exactly what I told her. I said, I'm not coming back if you're doing those evaluations. If you respect me, then you want me, and you're not going to evaluate me every month. You can deal with hiring me. It's a risk when you hire somebody. And sure, you want them to do a good job, but there's the carrot and the stick, we call it. You can use the carrot to encourage someone to do something, or you can use the stick to beat them into doing it, right? And the carrot usually works better, actually. Okay. Don't I have a lemon tree? No. They can't grow here, man. Marco, it's too cold. We have winter here, and everything dies. So, in Florida, if you live in Florida, that's far enough south that you could grow lemons. But, you know, like, there are no bananas that are grown in the United States because you can't grow them here. There's no place that they will grow that you can sustain them. I've had Italian lemons before, and yeah, Italian lemons are amazing. Yeah, I mean, I had what I was told was an Italian lemon, and it was better than the other lemons I've had before. Yeah, and I've had limoncello too. Yeah. Everything you need to know about me, Khalifa, is in this file right here. Get this file, okay? Copy that link and paste it into your browser and open that file, and that's everything you need to know about me, including my schedule and my website and my YouTube and my blog and everything. Okay? You can cover the lemon trees in the winter with a specific texture here. Well, I don't know, man. I have never heard of anybody in my city having success with lemon trees. I've never seen one. That should tell you something. I haven't seen one anywhere. Yeah, so you have to do them, you have to take them inside here. You have to put them in a container and take them inside. That's what it says. Yeah, that's too much trouble. I don't have the ability to do that. Yeah, so we have to buy our lemons and limes. Yeah. All of our citrus fruits. I could be the first to have one. Yeah, I don't know. I'll take a look if I see one at the store, but they're also expensive here, too. I do love lemons, though. I use them in cooking all the time. Is it because of the different climate that lemons are expensive? Well, yes, but also because America is really big and everything we get comes from someplace else, right? So almost all of the food in my grocery store, none of it comes from local farms. Almost none. I would say probably none. It comes from farms that are very far away, sometimes really far. So you have to pay for that cost, the cost of shipping it. And plus, then, tariff dummy. Tariff dummy thought tariffs were a good idea, and now we pay more money for everything. The tariff genius. The tariff king. Lemons are a superfood. But I think I like limes more than lemons. I love a good lime. The flavor of lime is better. Hello, Milady. No, you don't like limes? But did you know that there are different kinds of limes? When I lived in Taiwan, they had limes. The limes that they had there were really, they were just like lemons. They were just slightly like a different variety of lemon. But the limes that we have are not oval. They're round. They're completely round, and those have a different flavor. They're very, very, very... They have a nice little spice to them. I love it. I love both lemons and limes. But you know what my favorite citrus fruit is? My favorite citrus fruit is calamansi. Have you guys ever had calamansi? Becca has. Becca, are you here, Becca? Where's Becca? We have any Filipinos here? Yeah, calamansi. There are these tiny little, they look like little limes. They look like tiny little limes, but it's kind of like lime meets orange. And they give them to you in your food, like you squeeze them on your food in the Philippines a lot. Like this. Look at this. They're so cool looking. They're green on the outside and orange on the inside. That's calamansi. They do turn orange, but they usually pick them when they're green. And they're really, really delicious flavor. Yeah, we call it calamansi. I love those things. There's those, and there's another one called kumquats, and those are also delicious. But those things you eat whole. It's crazy. I didn't know you're supposed to eat the whole thing. But the skin is really sweet. It's like candy. The skin is the best part. Anyway, okay, I'm just blabbing now. Come on, guys, ask me a question. I'm much more interesting if you ask me questions. I promise you. I'm much more interesting. I am a boring, boring man if you don't ask me questions. I said flavor. Yes, I did. What about flavor? The flavors of the calamansi is like it's like an orange meets a lime. Why at my age do I feel left behind by my friends who have good universities and good jobs because I lack ability and luck? No, probably not. No. It's really sad, but it's true that every system of work in the world is not a good system of work. And what happens is there are many, many people who are talented people, smart people, caring people, hardworking people who are not valued anymore. And it's not because that what they do is not important. It's only because the market doesn't value it. So teachers don't get paid very much at all anymore. And teachers have very little respect anymore. Very little compared to the past. Come on. Teacher used to be one of the most highly respected jobs. Now it's very, very disrespected. It's a disrespected job to be a teacher in many cases. So, there are many people who are great teachers who are hardworking and caring and smart and talented, but the market doesn't provide because the market doesn't value that. That doesn't mean it's not good. It means the market values what the market values. But that's why the markets need to be controlled, because the markets don't care about humans. But humans should care about humans. So anything that humans do needs to be regulated because it's done by humans for humans. And if it's not, then it's inhuman. So a lot of economics is simply inhuman. Okay, next question. But take heart, because I really do think that the economics are falling apart. And so everybody's going to have to start reconsidering things again and reconsidering what's really important anymore, because the economics are really falling apart all over, not just here. Oh, they call it songkit in Indonesia. Okay, yeah, Indonesia is close there, so they must have it too, yeah. Do I think there exists a truth to discover? Or do we only have a truth of perception, a perception of truth? That's a very deep question. Truth is singular, but our ability to understand it is pluralistic. And it's not ubiquitous or innate. So truth does exist outside of human reality or human perception. However, human perception is required to assess truth, but perception is just perception. So perceptions are often wrong, right? Truth may not be, but the perception of truth may be. Have I ever tried Georgian cuisine? I don't think specifically Georgian. No, Michael. I would like to, but I don't think I've ever tried anything specifically Georgian. When can you use I were? You can only use it when you're saying, well, you can, but you say it like, if I were you, then I would, wear a coat, right? Or I wish I were taller. I wish I were on a beach right now, okay? I'm not on a beach, but I wish I were. Okay, you could say I wish I was, but it's a different tense, right? If I were a millionaire, right? A hypothetical situation. Or he acts as though I were his friend or I were his employee, right? So were can be used in certain cases, in certain tenses in that way. But it depends on the context. Flower and flavor. No, look at me, Milady. Flower. Ow, ow, ow. When someone punches you in the face, ow. Flower. Flavor. Flower, flavor. Not the same. I sound like Feynman? I'll take that compliment. But nali, nali. A square peg in a round hole. Is it used in the U.S.? Yeah, sure, it's used. Yeah, it just means you don't fit in. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. Waleed has something good to say. Feeling left behind doesn't mean you lack ability or value. Everyone has a different timeline in life. I like that, Waleed. You missed part of the answer. Oh, okay. Let me try to say it again, Marco. Truth exists outside of human perception, but truth can't be understood by humans without perception. So then perception becomes a quality that you must have good perception or bad perception, right? Perception is not complete by itself. Perception has qualities. So that means you could have a bad perception of a situation and get the wrong view of truth. So truth can only be understood through perception, and perception can be wrong. Oh, Hugo's getting deep too, but that's okay, Marco. That's all right. I like those deep questions. That's fun. I find it funny when people ask me those kinds of questions. I find it funnier what words come out of my mouth. What's the difference between attitude and behavior? Behavior means how you act, right? How you act, the things that you do. Are you behaving well or behaving badly, right? So the things that you do is your behavior. But attitude is the way that you the emotions that you have when you do them. So if I am working and I'm working happily, then I have a good attitude when I'm working. My work is my behavior, and I have a good attitude in my work. Okay? But maybe you hate your work, so you have a bad attitude about your work, which is your behavior. So the behavior is the things that you do, right? As a matter of fact, when we look up the word a manner of behaving or acting. And behaviors are often in a pattern. Behaviors are often in a pattern, right? Like you talk about, oh, he's been fighting a lot more. That's a behavior change, right? Like this kid is fighting more in school. That's a change in their behavior, the way that they regularly act or normally act, right? So behavior sometimes or usually is talking about the regular way that you do things, okay? What does operating in a vacuum mean? Romina, that means sometimes people say this term and it means like, how do I explain this? A vacuum, Romina, this is about science, okay? So in science, when they do scientific experiments, they do them in a vacuum. Do you know why? So a vacuum means they take all of the air out of that chamber, right? So they have a chamber and they're doing an experiment inside the chamber, but they don't want the air to affect the outcome. So they take the air out of the chamber. That is called a vacuum, right? So things act differently inside a vacuum, okay? So that idea that when everything is isolated, that things act differently. But in the real world, things are not isolated. So they don't act that way. So when people say, hey, this classroom doesn't operate in a vacuum, that means that, hey, this is real life, right? So in real life, stuff happens. It's not so perfect and clear like in a book or in a science experiment. Okay? Do you understand? I tried my best to explain that. So operating in a vacuum means in a way that's not natural. The natural way is affected by many, many things. There are many, many outside things that affect the way your students act, right? Maybe they didn't get enough sleep, and maybe their parents are yelling at them, and maybe they broke up with their girlfriend, right? So when a student is not acting right, there are many outside reasons, right? It's not a vacuum. There's not a perfect student who's not affected by any of that. Okay? There you go. All right. Okay, Faizan, I don't know what that means. No, I don't. Okay, if you have a question, you can ask me. Okay, Kasim, I don't know what that's about. Who cares? Am I interested in stocks? No. I don't think anything about Modi. I don't know enough to think about it. What I know about him I don't really like, but I don't like most politicians. Politicians are not usually likable. Do you know what? Yeah, Waleed remembers my favorite quote about politicians. Politicians are like diapers, Kasim. That's what I think about Modi. Politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed often, right? You have to change a diaper often, right? Why do you have to change a diaper? Why do you have to change a diaper, anybody? Anybody know? Why do you change diapers? You change a diaper because it's full of beep. That's the same reason you change a politician. That's a quote from Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed often and for the same reason. Because they're full of beep. Do I think that pure capitalism is always the best choice? No, God, no. God, no. Man, no. No, absolutely not. Pure capitalism is pretty much pure evil as far as I'm concerned. No, I think capitalism sucks. I'm not a big fan. It has no rules. It doesn't care. It only feeds the machine. And it does not care about people, so I don't care about it. It doesn't care about me. So why should I care about it? I care about any system that cares about me. But this is a system that I have lived under, and it doesn't care about me. And many, many people know that. We know that now. We're aware. That doesn't mean that I want to get rid of it completely. What I mean is it needs rules. It needs laws. It needs justice. And there are places where they do have that. Yeah. Not to get into politics. But no, I am not a fan of capitalism at all. Science attains truth, religion, goodness, art, beauty. Hugo, that's an interesting theory. But I think it's... Hugo, in my experience, cosmic laws don't really have much value. Because life is complicated. So anything that's simple doesn't reflect life. So the more simple the words become, the more likely it's not completely true. That's why we have language, because things need to be explained. You have to explain it all. Okay, like Nike. Nike has their saying, just do it. And is that good advice all the time? Is just do it good advice all the time? No, it's not. So, what I would say is the simpler the words are, usually that's just a marketing campaign. Do you know how life is? I'll tell you how life is. Life is really, really hard, and life is complicated beyond your imagination. It is far, 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 far more complicated than you have any idea about. But it's hard to think about that. When you have to live your daily life, every day you have to work, it's really hard to think about the world being this place that's so incredibly complicated. So, what we do is called cognitive offloading. Cognitive offloading. Cognitive means thinking, right? It's about thinking. And offloading means to take that load off of you and put it on something else. So, in life, nearly nothing is simple. It's almost all complicated. And that requires you to think. But not every human is able to think about all of that. Not every human wants to think about all of that. Not every human is ready to think about all of that. And so what they do is somebody comes along and says some words that are very simple. They say some words that are very simple, and those words make them feel better because, oh, God, I wish that were true, because if that's true, then life is so easy. If I can just believe this, then it's so easy. So, life is a big picture. Life is a very big, big picture, okay? But in life, there will always be people who are trying to show you this much, or this much, or this much. Simple words show the world like this. But the world is a bigger picture. Okay? It's called cognitive offloading. People often, life is hard, so we look for things, we look for ways that are easier. We look for an answer that's easier than thinking about how hard it really is. Okay? So, in my opinion, do I think the Big Bang really happened? Yeah, as far as I know, it still fits the models. But science is never finished. Science doesn't need to be finished. Science is a constant process. The process of science is never done. So no answer is ever finished, ever. Anything in science can be changed. That doesn't make it wrong. That means the act of science is progress. Science never stands still. Remember that. Okay, so our idea of the Big Bang is what we know right now, and it fits. It makes sense for what we know right now. But every scientist will remember that if we find out something new, then we'll change our view. If we find out something new, then we'll change our view. That is science. I'm speaking like a professor. Well, I'm a teacher. That's a kind of professor, isn't it? Kind of. I have been teaching probably longer than you have been living. People make everything complicated and harder. Nothing is hard. With commitment, discipline, and honesty, everything will be okay, but people cannot do it. And Nora, that's a good attitude, but it's also not true. You have to balance the viewpoint of believing in yourself. Yes, believe in yourself. Sure, Nora, believe in yourself. But life is complicated on every single level. Life is complicated. Looking at life in a simple way is just a viewpoint, but it's like looking through a microscope. You're seeing one little thing, but you're not seeing the whole thing. You can't see the forest for the leaves. That's what we say. Oh, okay. What time is it? 1 hour and 16 minutes. All right. Now, I will ask, does anybody have a question that they would like to come on stage and ask me about? Would anyone like to come talk to the teacher? We can talk about language. You have to give me something to talk about. Give me a question. Give me something you don't understand. Am I going to play some drums? I don't know. You know, Waleed, I love to play the drums, but it feels like when I play the drums, you know, there are a lot of people who just don't care and they don't really, you know, so I don't know. I feel weird because I feel like I'm pushing my drumming on people, you know, like they're not interested. So, I still do it, but I think I'm going to do it separately, you know? Separately. Do we use present perfect progressive in the past? Present perfect progressive. If it's present perfect progressive, then it's not in the past. If you mean, have I used present perfect progressive, then yes, of course. Absolutely. Okay. Hajar, yes, you may come on stage. Sure, you may.
Hi, teacher.
Hello, Hajar, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. It's good to talk to somebody in Iran. It's been a long time. I've been trying to message my friends, but you know, I know you guys don't have internet, or when you do, it's just a little bit, and yeah, so I've been messaging everybody asking if they're okay, and
Thank you, teacher Ma.
sometimes they get,
This is nice of you. Thank you.
well, it's not nice of me. It's unfortunate that I have to. You know what I mean? It's just it sickens me that I feel like it's just I can't even explain the feeling. It's just terrible. It's a feeling that's just it hurts. So, but I'm so happy to see people back. Oh, Hajar, are you still there? What happened? Did we lose her already? Ah, what happened? Hajar. Well, I'm going to hang out for another minute and see if she comes back. Yeah, let's just hope she comes back. Hajar, are you there? Ah, Hajar. Oh, wait, her camera turned off. What happened? Hajar, if you're there, I'm gonna remove you from stage, and maybe you can try to raise your hand again. Maybe let's try again. Okay? Let's try again, okay? Well, that was sad. I was talking to her. I was so excited to talk to somebody in Iran for the first time in months. Hopefully she can come back. Sir, everyone has two faces, one for society and one for when they're alone, so how can I make my one for society? Does everybody have two faces? I try not to. Why do you want to have two faces? Why do you think you have to? You don't. You can be honest. You can present yourself as the person you are. It's harder. When you have another face, it's like having armor. It's like having a shield. So when you have a different face and society sees you as that, it's easier because nothing hurts you directly because it's a fake person. It's not you. But if you show your real self, you can, but that means you're now more open to risk. You're open to risk. But I think it's very confusing to try to be two people. Can you use future tense in the past? I'm trying to think of how you would do that. Let me see. So you can yeah, you can. Yeah, you can talk about the future in the past. Yes. So like you could say, I knew she would win the race, right? That's in the past. I knew she would win the race in the future, right? Or they were going to leave, but then it rained. They were going to leave, but then it rained. So you're talking about something that was going to happen, but then something else happened, right? In the future, right? Poor Hajar. I hope Hajar can come back maybe tomorrow. Do I think life is good in America? Do I enjoy living here? Oh, that's a very hard question to answer. I think it can be good, but I don't think it is for many. I think it was much better 35 or 40 years ago. But it's a little bit rough now. Modern education in China focuses on imparting knowledge, not cultivating wisdom. But that's not totally true, Hugo. Hugo, you guys study Confucius. Confucius is mostly pragmatic wisdom, mostly. Right? I've studied some Confucius, Kongzi, right? And yeah, that's mostly practical stuff. Even we study some of Confucius because it's practical. It makes sense. So you guys do have wisdom. So let me put it to you this way, Hugo, guess what? Modern education in America focuses on imparting knowledge mostly too, okay? They do have a bit better, I think America maybe is a little bit better about trying to make sure you actually understand the idea, not just know the answers. China is a little bit, they have a problem with one thing, which is that they are too focused on, did you get the answer? That doesn't mean you understand. That doesn't mean you understand. Right now, there are probably quarter of a billion Chinese people who they studied English and they passed the English test, but they can't speak well. Right? Everybody in China knows somebody that studied English a lot and they passed the test, but they can't use English very well. Everybody knows somebody like that in China, right? That's because you're focused too much on the test. You're too much on, did you get the answer? But the answer is not the only thing. Hugo, do you know what the word understand means? The word understand. Most people don't really know what this word means. Why do they say under? What is under? Why under? What are you standing under? When you understand something, what does that mean? Today, the word under, it means below something. But a long time ago, the word under had another meaning. It would mean under sometimes, below sometimes it meant that. But sometimes the word under means in the middle of. In the middle of something. So when you understand something, you are in the middle of it and you can now see it clearly. Oh, I understand now. I'm in the middle and I can see it clearly. Get it? Understand? So understanding is not about knowing the answer. It's about seeing it clearly. And okay. That feeling. You can memorize answers but not have that feeling. You can memorize the answer but not understand. Right? And then I will also say this, Hugo, that your education is not the job of the government or the country. Your education is your job. And guess what? Education begins on the day you're born, and education ends on the day you die. So, school is just one small part of education. School is supposed to teach you how to learn so that you can teach yourself for the rest of time. Right? That's what school is actually supposed to do. It's supposed to teach you how to learn so that you can continue to learn. So that you have a mind meant for learning. You know? All right, let's see. Medio stat virtus. Virtue stands in the middle. Yeah, sure. Moderation. Everything in moderation is what we say. We say in English, everything in moderation. Yeah. But yeah, medio, middle, stat, stays, or stans, right? Yeah, and virtus, virtue, right? Yeah. Does the word understand come from Old English? I think it's Old English Germanic. Old English. Yeah, it's Old English. It's Old English. Is a good friend of yours in Wales. All right, well, good for you. You understand somebody from Wales. That means that your English is getting better. You're starting to understand more accents. That's good. Well, look at Hugo. I use just one law. If a function's derivative is a constant multiple of itself, then it is an exponential function. Based on this, we present an alternative proof of Euler's formula. Wow. Okay. That's another way to say it. That's the mathematical way to say that. Yeah. Sure. Does anybody else have anything to say? Any questions for me? Challenge me. I like a challenge. Oh. So let's see. Why is the United States called Uncle Sam's country? Uncle Sam is a term that came from the it came from the World War One era, slightly before World War One, like around early 1900 period, right around that area, right, those years. And there was this real guy, actually earlier than that, there was this real guy. His name was Samuel Wilson, and he was a meat packer. He made he had meat, right? And during the War of 1812, he supplied meat to the U.S. Army. And when he shipped his meat, he would just put U.S. on the meat like it was government property. And so he became this guy who was known as Uncle Sam, the guy who provided meat for the soldiers, right? And then he became kind of a poster, like just a caricature, a figure, an icon. It was just an icon. And he became a political cartoon. So when you see Uncle Sam today, you always see that old guy with the beard who's saying, Uncle Sam wants you, right, to join the army or something stupid like that. Yeah. I recommended your class to 3 people on HelloTalk, but none kept going. So I believe sharing and learning are personal. Others may not like my choices. Yeah, that's true. Not everybody likes what I do. Most people don't understand what I do. Because most people think that a teacher is supposed to do all the work. No, I'm sorry. You have it wrong. The teacher's not supposed to do all the work. You are. You're supposed to do all the work. The teacher is supposed to answer your questions and help you figure it out. But you're supposed to do most of the work yourself. You tried my trick about using the weak hand, and it's a beautiful way to improve. Right, yeah, Marco, it's a funny thing. It's a really funny thing how just learning how to brush your teeth with the other hand, or opening doors with the other hand, or, just trying to do things that you normally do with your right hand, try to do it with your left hand, or your left leg, or whatever. It's a very interesting experience to see just how weak you are, and also just how much you rely on one side of your body, and how undeveloped the other side of your body is. It's kind of crazy how undeveloped our weak side is. Yeah. Something stupid like that, indeed. Leonardo was left-handed and wrote all his manuals right to left in a sort of secret code. I did know that. Yeah, it's hilarious, Marco. When you said Leonardo, the first thing I thought was, Leonardo DiCaprio? What? He writes left to right? And then I was thinking, wait a minute, Italian? Da Vinci, not DiCaprio. That was funny. Oops. That's funny. Yeah, he was brilliant. I love reading about Da Vinci. See, now that was a man who understood education. That was a man who understood pursuing your curiosities. That was a man who understood that learning is supposed to be something that you do forever, and that you're supposed to be interested in almost everything. He studied everything. He studied the stars, he studied music, he studied the human body, he studied art, he studied science, he studied architecture, he studied so many things because he understood that learning is not a function of making money. Learning is a function of becoming a better human. One of them said he doesn't like the Q&A part, he likes straight regular lessons. Yeah, so what that means is he's lazy. He wants the teacher to do all the work for him. You can do that, but then you have to pay me. If you pay me, I will teach you. I will teach you lessons. I have lots and lots of lessons and material, but I only do that if you pay me. But if you're not paying me, then yes, I will answer your questions, but you have to do the work. You know? Hugo, is that your poem? That's a good poem, Hugo. It's deep. Those are different times. Maybe we could hope in a new tech medieval era with no electricity to understand them. Well, I don't necessarily think so. I think that's one of the most important lessons that Da Vinci should teach us, is just the simple idea that guess what? In my opinion, Da Vinci is not special. Anybody could have been like him if everybody would have done things like him. So he was a genius, yes. But what I mean is genius is not as special as you think it is. Genius exists in many places, but we usually never find it. Most people never get there for many, many reasons. For many, many, many reasons. But most of those reasons are you don't get the opportunity. Yeah. We need a new renaissance. We need a new renaissance. We need a new enlightenment. Good Lord. That's what we really need. Why did Ed Sheeran set an expiration date on his love? I don't know anything about Ed Sheeran. Just because he did that doesn't mean anything. And by the way, I'm willing to bet money that when he's 70, he's going to change his mind. He's not 70 yet. He's what, 30? I don't know what he is. He's just a kid. So he'll change his mind when he's older. Youth is the time to say stupid things. When I was 17 years old, I said, I'm going to be a drummer and only a drummer, and I'm never going to do anything else, and I don't want to do anything else, and I can't ever imagine doing anything else. I'm not 17 anymore. Things change. You grow up. And by the way, Susu, part of what I do, by the way, I don't want everyone here. I don't want everyone to like me. I don't want everyone to follow me. Do you know why? Why? What do you think? Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm not interested in teaching anybody who's lazy. I don't have time for them. I don't have time for them. I have time for people who are ready to learn. I have time for people who are really serious. I don't have time for people who are desperate and lazy. So I don't want everybody. I want the people who really want to learn. You know? I believe I can fly. Not anymore. It's kind of hard to fly when you're in jail. Hello, Mila. Privyet. Well, thank you, Susu. That's nice of you to say. That's nice of you to say. That's how it should feel when you find a teacher that you like. That's how it felt for every teacher that I ever had that was good, that I loved. Every teacher I ever had, I felt like it was like a treasure. It's like I'm lucky. I'm really lucky that I get to study with them. Do I know Russian? Niet. I know privyet, I know что, I know da, I know niet, I know до свидания, I know pavlushta. That's all I know, I think. And kielbasa, I know that too. That's right. Do I like living in America? Living in America. Have you ever heard that song? There's a song called Living in America, Mila. Look up the song Living in America and read the lyrics. But after you read that one, there's another one. What's that other song? I'll just say how do I answer this question? It's complicated here now. It's complicated. And I'm a complicated person. So I might not be the best person to ask. If I could apprehend another language in a second apart from Chinese, which language would I choose? Ooh, that's a good question. Ooh, wow. Wow. Oh, I think I might say either Spanish or Japanese. Because if I could speak Spanish well, then I definitely would do a lot more traveling to Spanish speaking countries. You know, that's one of the only reasons, well, besides money, it's a big reason why I don't. It's because I just don't have the language skills to make it work. And I've always wanted to know Japanese. And I think it's interesting. I would love to know enough Japanese to see more of the connections between Japanese and Chinese too. I would like to see that. That'd be interesting to me. Etymologically, because I like etymology. So I would love to see more of the connections between not just Chinese and Japanese, but all of those languages, including Korean. But that's an interesting question. Animal language, that'd be good. C++, Java, and Python. Who cares about those anymore? AI is going to do all that. AI is going to do all of that. There's no need to learn any computer language ever again. You can, but good luck in the future. Okay, I know. So I do bore a lot of people. But, you know, honestly, if it's boring here, it's not my fault. Do you understand that? All you have to do is just ask me questions. I'm full of answers. But I have to react. You must act, then I react. But if you don't act, then we just sit here. This is called twiddling your thumbs. Can I explain about gerunds and infinitives? Okay. So, a gerund is a word that is a verb plus the letters ing. Okay? And an infinitive is a verb with the word to in front of it. And most verbs can take either form, right? So that means I could say I like to walk or I like walking. I like to run, I like running. I like to jump, I like jumping. I like to swim, I like swimming. I like to sing, I like singing. They are the same. They are the same. Right? So they're just different forms. That's it. Sometimes I get bored here too. Did you know that? Sometimes I'm bored. Sometimes I'm like, come on, ask me a question. Give me something to do. Hit the ground running. What does that mean? It means that you start something very quickly, right? So maybe you start a new business. Maybe you're making cakes, right? You're making cakes. And because you already have a lot of practice making cakes and you have all the right equipment and you know what to do, when you get your new kitchen, right? You're going to buy a new kitchen for your business. And now that you have your new kitchen, you know everything you need to do and you have your new kitchen, now you can hit the ground running. It means you can start your business, but you already know what to do. Right? A business that doesn't know what to do has to walk. It can't run yet. Okay, so to hit the ground, we started. We're hitting the ground. We're ready. Now you start running immediately. That means you're ready to go and you know what to do and you have everything you need. You're hitting the ground running. Okay? And yes, it's used in the US. My English accent's not very good. What should I do? So it depends on how bad your accent is. Okay? I don't care if you have an accent. I love accents. I want you to have an accent. I just want you to have a clear accent. Okay? So you can speak American English perfectly well with any accent. I don't care. Russian, Chinese, Japanese, French, German, Portuguese, Latin. I don't care what accent you have. You can speak English perfectly if it's clear. But the question is it clear? Maybe there are some things that you need to work on to improve. Chinese people, almost every Chinese person that I meet, they have the same problem. Chinese is a small mouth language, but English, especially American English, is a big mouth language. The reason I sound so clear is because look how much I move my mouth. So, 如果我说中文，我用好小的嘴，好小的嘴。如果我说英文，我需要用好大的嘴。听得懂吗？ All right? If I speak English, I need to use a big mouth. If I speak Chinese, I need to use a small mouth. So, Yang, you need to practice your vowels. A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. And A, E, I, O, E. A, E, I, O, E. If your mouth doesn't move enough, then every sound is the same because you're in the same position. Okay? So, when you say a short A, your mouth needs to be very big. Very, very big. Okay? When you say a short A. Like you're eating an apple. You're going to take a bite of an apple, you need a big mouth. Okay? When you have the E sound, the E is slightly smaller, not a full open mouth, right? So and then the I sound, short I, is very small. Dada, jongda, shouda. Dada, jongda, shouda. Big, medium, small. Okay? Facial expressions in Chinese are not as exaggerated. That's right. Yeah, in general. Yeah. Okay, how to overcome the feeling of being stuck, like in your level. Judson, two things. One, you need to challenge yourself with something new. You did this book, do a different book. You did this app, do a different app. You did this video, do a different video. Change your materials, and then you'll feel like you're doing something more or new, okay? And then you have to push yourself, right? A plant has to stretch. It has to reach for it to grow, right? So when you learn, you have to reach if you want to grow. So if you're at the A2 level, then you have to study some B1 things. If you're at the B1 level, you have to study some B2 things, right? Do some B2 reading, do some B2 vocabulary, some B2 grammar, right? So there are two ways to change that. One, you need to change your materials and get more. Get more. If you only have one book, then you only have one way to study. If you have 10 books, now you have 10 ways to study. If you have 10 apps, you have 10 more. Okay? What representative foods are there for Americans? Burgers. Burgers. How much vocabulary affect... what? How much does knowing vocabulary affect knowing the English language? Ahmad, you have to know vocabulary to speak any language, right? So if you want to read or write or listen or speak or think a language, then you need grammar and you need vocabulary and you need pronunciation. So there are three things that you must study to do the 5 things that are active parts of language, right? Grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, you have to study those 3 so that you can do the writing, reading, listening, speaking, and thinking. Okay? I look younger. Thank you, Nario. I'm not younger. What does shoot the breeze mean? Shoot the breeze means to talk casually. Talk casually. Where does it come from? I'm not sure. That one I don't know. So, shooting the breeze means shooting words. Words, just saying any words, it doesn't matter, into the wind, the breeze. Right? So shooting the breeze just means talking, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so maybe you and a friend are just talking, right? And then another friend comes up and says, hey, what are you guys doing? And you could just say, yeah, we're just shooting the breeze. That just means we're talking about nothing important, right? Maybe we're talking about the weather. We're talking about, going to the store or something, right? My dad is still sick, but he's getting better. Thank you, Naria. Which word is the hardest to pronounce? Justin, there's a word people always bring here. What is it again? It's a medical term. It's where is it? There it is. Pneumo-ono ultra microscopic silico volcanocaniosis. Yeah, that's it. Pneumono ultra microscopic silico volcanoconiosis. That's the hardest word to pronounce. You think many people from Asian countries study harder than American people, but why do American people have a lot of good companies like Google? Because it's not just about studying harder. You know, being smart is not the answer to everything. There are lots of people who are pretty stupid who run very famous businesses. Okay? So I can't really explain that, but I can just tell you that it's not about being smart necessarily. There's a lot that goes into it. What's the level of the Atomic Habits book? I don't know. Google it. Ask Google what's the level. I don't know. Do American people have a good education system? It's okay, but it could be better. I mean, honestly, I think almost every education system in the world needs a lot of improvement. There are only a few places in the world where they're doing really innovative things in education. Almost every place in the world, education is really behind. It's archaic. It's sad because people don't like change. But change is what you need. Oh. My job requires me to talk to a lot of Americans and they understand me fine. There you go. Okay, well then you're fine, Rowena. Hippopoto monstro esqua pedalophobia. Pedalophobia. Yeah, that's another one. Right. But again, that's the thing that's cool about English is that that's not one word, that's a bunch of words. Hippo means horse, poto means river, monstro means great or scary. What's the esqua? I can't remember the esqua. Is it something about writing maybe? I can't remember. Peda is about children. The lia, I can't remember. And then phobia is a fear, right? But so each one of those is just a bunch of little words put together to make a big word. Where does the word pretty come from and what's its original meaning? So yeah, pretty is an interesting word because pretty has two meanings in the modern sense. Pretty can mean beautiful. She's very pretty. Pretty can also mean a little bit. Like, it's pretty hot today. That means it's a little bit hot today. Okay? Pretty comes from Old English. And in Old English, the original word pretty, actually, it meant cunning or crafty or clever. If you were clever, then you were pretty. The original word was pretig, or something like that. And then it became pretty. So the original word pretty meant skillful or astute or smart. Crafty, like a trickster. Let's see. So in the 1400s, the meaning changed to manly. Or good looking. So it's interesting. The word pretty, it started as a word meaning crafty or clever or smart. And then it changed to a meaning of to be very manly. And then it changed to become a meaning of looking nice or beautiful. Yeah, there you go. There's the other one. And Rowena said, big companies in America are often run by a lot of Asians. That's not entirely true, but there is some truth to that. And you also need to remember that in America, not every American is white. Oh, wow. Did you know that? Did you know that America is not a white country? So there are Americans who are Asian and they run companies. And there are Americans who are, black and they run companies. There are Americans. So we have everybody here. Everybody from every part of the world is here running companies. Okay? Okay, next question. How can you improve your English listening? Hassan, you need to listen more. So go to this website, Hassan. Go to this website and this website. Go to those two websites. Those two websites have a ton of listening for you, every level. What do Americans often talk about when they gather in their communities? Well, that depends on the American, Anna. Maybe they get together and talk about sports, right? Like what game is happening today or tomorrow or this weekend, right? Maybe they get together and they talk about work. If they work together, they have work projects to do. Maybe they get together and talk about their families, like my brother gets together with some people from his neighborhood and they talk about their jobs and their families and their work, right? So it depends on the people, Anna. It's just like Korea. People get together and talk about whatever they're connected by. Whatever they're connected by. Do I think accent is a big deal? No, not in English. If you're learning French, then yeah, accent's a big deal. If you're learning German, sure, it's a big deal. But American English, no, it's not a big deal. Okay? Clarity. That's the only thing we care about. Top companies hire mostly expats. Why? What jobs do local Americans usually hold? That's not, like I said, that's not entirely true, everybody. I don't know where you're getting your statistics from, but I don't think that's necessarily true. First of all, we don't hire expats for sure, because you cannot hire somebody from outside of the country to work in the country. They have to have a visa, and you cannot get a visa to work here unless you show that you have an ability that you have that we don't have here. So you have to have some kind of special knowledge or special talent or skill that you have that we do not have here, or you can't have a job here. That's how it works. Okay, so let's do just a quick study. Let's see. Foreign-born individuals make up about 19.1% of the total U.S. civilian labor force. And 36% or almost 37% of foreign-born workers are in management, professional, or related jobs. So like lawyer, doctor, things like that. So about 11 million people are in corporate management or executive or high special roles. But that is a lot. That is a lot. But that's not most. Okay? I read about Sweden. They turned back with tablets and ebooks. Education system caused because they proved the children to be less clever than before. Well, yeah, sure. I think I read something about that too. I don't know that I completely trust that study or that application of that study, but I was more thinking about Finland. Finland redid their education system a few years ago. They had one of the worst systems in the world, and they changed it, and now they have one of the best systems in the world. I think that the role of technology in education is important. I think that they're just teaching it wrong. But I think that the reason they're teaching it wrong is because of capitalism. Because they don't want them to limit the way that they use technology, so they don't teach them about any limits. They should, but that's one of the problems with business. Business has no wisdom. The most basic form of wisdom is a very simple thing. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it, right? So when you're on a bridge, just because you can jump off the bridge doesn't mean you should jump off the bridge. But guess what? Business doesn't work that way. Business always does what it can, even if it shouldn't. So it jumps off a bridge every day. Right? So my point is this. Technology can be used in positive ways for education, but it has to be taught in the right way. And they aren't doing that because they don't want to teach them any limits at all. So rather than teaching them some limits that are healthy, they teach them no limits at all because they can make more money. It's that simple. Is this meaning similar between pretty and gorgeous? Gorgeous is a bit more strong. It's a stronger word. If I say, oh, wow, she's gorgeous, that's like really beautiful. Okay? Pretty is like, oh, she's pretty. That's a pretty flower, right? But gorgeous is like you're going to the Oscars and you're wearing the most amazing dress and you have your hair perfect and you look amazing. That's gorgeous, right? American Asians still hold their Asian culture, so my point is invalid. Do they? No, they don't, Rowena. Do you live here, Rowena? No, you don't. I do. My neighbor up the street from Taiwan has been here for 35 years. Does he still eat Chinese food? Sure. But does he speak English and drive American cars and do American things the American way all the time? Yes. And by the way, this room, this is not a place for debate. I am not here to debate anybody. I'm the teacher. This is my classroom. So when you come to my classroom, you come to learn. You don't come to teach. All right? In a classroom, there has to be a teacher. A. There are not 10 teachers in one classroom. Okay? What's the difference, do I think, between British and American writers and their English writing? Wow, that's I can't even, that's a big question, Susu. There are too many things to list. That depends on what era, what time period that you're talking about of literature. British and American literature have changed a lot. Are we talking about Chaucer? Are we talking about Shakespeare? Are we talking about, Steinbeck? What are we talking about? Right? It's very, very different. Depends on what time period you're looking at. If I were offered $1 billion, but I had to give up my passion for playing the drums and teaching, including live streaming, would I accept? Probably not. Probably not. Pretty and beautiful. Pretty and beautiful are pretty close. Pretty and beautiful are pretty close, right? What's the difference between pretty and beautiful? I can't really tell you because it's different for everybody, right? Some people, they might think beautiful is here and pretty is here. Or some people might think beautiful is here and pretty is here, right? So beautiful and pretty, they're pretty close. And I think it's personal. They both mean about the same thing, okay? You think you want me to come to China and enjoy authentic Chinese hot pot? Well, Kelly, I did live in Taiwan for 5 years. I had lots of hot pot, and it was authentic. But I would love to have mainland hot pot too. I would like to have it too. J.K. Rowling, is the English she uses in her books the same? Mostly, yes. For her, yeah, she's mostly what we would call a pop writer, right? She writes for popular writing, right? So she has a certain style. It's fiction and it's fantasy fiction. We call that fantasy fiction, like magic and dragons and things like that. But most of the language in her books are mostly the same as what we would use. There are a few differences, but not many. Would I like to come to Ethiopia? I would like to come to anywhere. I like the planet Earth. If it's on Earth, I would like to see it. Everywhere has delicious food. I like delicious food. What's the optimal daily duration for English acquisition? Excessive study might lead to cognitive fatigue. That depends on how you study. That's why you need to have some things that are study and some things that are play. So you're right that study has a limit. You can study too much and then you can burn out. But play has no limit. Play has no limit. So the right way to study is to learn, study, focus, and then take that and play with it. Okay? So you can play with it all day and you'll never be tired. Okay? Studying it will make you tired, but playing with it will not. How? Well, be creative. Write a story. Right? Maybe you're learning new vocabulary. You try to use that word in 5 new sentences, right? Or you try to play a game where you try to come up with synonyms or antonyms or try to come up with a fake definition of that, right? Sometimes when you teach yourself something wrong, you'll remember the right way. So you can teach yourself the wrong definition, and the wrong definition will help you remember the right one. It's funny how the brain works. The brain is funny. You can trick it that way. Okay? Am I seeking food? Well, I'm just saying food is one of the best things in culture, right? I love food and I love music. So when I travel, I always want to eat the food and I want to experience the music. Okay? So getting back to what Can was saying about learning and play, guys, that's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to study and then play. And that's why learning is too hard for you. Most of you learning is too hard because you're only doing the studying part. You're not doing the play part. The play part is the most important part. Everything that you learn, after you learn it, you're supposed to play with it. When you play with it, that's when you figure out what it's really like and what it's really about, and if you really understand. And yeah, you have to figure out how to be creative. You have to think of, how can I play with this thing? What can I do with this? Maybe you're learning a new tense. Maybe you're learning a new word. Maybe you're learning a new style of writing, right? You have to learn it and then play with it. Excuse me. When you're traveling, the things I miss most are olive oil and bidets. What do I miss in the U.S. when you're traveling? Good napkins, especially in Asia. That's one thing I can't stand about Asia, is you can go to sometimes you're at a nice restaurant in Asia, and they have these tiny little napkins that are like, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this little tiny piece of paper? That's not a napkin. I want a napkin. I want something I can wipe my face with. It's a funny thing to say, but it's true. Do the words gotcha, bazinga, and bingo have the same meaning? No. Gotcha and bingo are like, yeah, correct, or I understand, right? So if I say, oh, bingo, that means that's the correct answer, right? Or if I say gotcha, that means I tricked you somehow. Or it means I understand, right? So maybe you come into the door and I say boo, and you go, oh, I'm so scared. And then I'll say, I gotcha, means I tricked you, I scared you, right? Or you could say, can you pick me up at 10 o'clock tomorrow? And I'll say, yeah, sure, gotcha. That means I understand, I can. Okay? Bingo is a game. That's right. Bingo is a game. And it's a game with numbers and letters. And when you spell the word bingo, you win. And you say, bingo, I won, bingo, I have bingo, right? So bingo means exactly, or it means I won. Right? So if you say, what's the answer? And you say 24, and I say, oh, bingo, that's it. You got it. That's the right answer. Okay? Uno. Yeah, uno means one in Spanish. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez. Right? So uno means one in Italian and in Spanish. And so when you play the game Uno, when you throw that one card out, you're saying, I have one card. Uno. Only one card left. Bazinga. Bazinga is only a new word. That was a word that was created by the show Big Bang Theory. Or let me check. It might be a very old word that maybe was said in the 1930s or 40s, but nobody has said that word until that TV show. Let me check. Yeah, so it goes back to, early 20th century. So the early 1900s. But it's not popular. Nobody says that word. Nobody says bazinga. Nobody. Only Sheldon. That's it. Sheldon's the only one who says bazinga. Yeah, uno, dos, tres. That's right. Yeah. You often heard the term Gen Z. Gen Z means people born between the years, 1970? I can't remember. Let me see. Gen Z is 1997 to 2012. So I'm Generation X. Yeah, so Generation Z is 1997 to 2012. Okay? Generation X is between 1965 and 1980. I'm old. I'm not boomer old, but I'm old. I see many people on HelloTalk have several languages in their profiles. Do you think it's better to learn one language at a time or multiple ones? So, Susu, almost everybody on HelloTalk who they put their languages, most of them are lying. Okay? I mean, like, here's a perfect example. Do you remember the girl I was talking to earlier today, the Chinese girl? What was her name again? I can't remember her name. The girl I had on stage earlier today. She was talking, no, not Lindsay. It was some other girl that was on my stage. I can't remember her name now, but Lala, that was it. Lala, that was it. Yeah. Yeah. So she had, her English was listed as expert, like native, right? And, but she said she's only been learning for 6 months. And she definitely was not a native, not like a native, right? So you can't really trust the whatever it says about anybody's language here. And many people choose more than one language because then they can connect with more people. So sure, it's better to kind of focus on one language. But many people here are not just here for learning languages, they're also here for culture and learning about other cultures, right? So you can do that way, you know? Radical chic is now very popular in Italy. What is this? Radical chic. I've never heard of this. But I don't follow anything chic. It's the fashionable practice of wealthy upper-class elites adopting, promoting, or socializing with radical political causes. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, but that's always happened. Radical chic has always been around, Marco, for ages, hundreds of years. The rich people, you know, a real cause, a social cause, a political cause. For most rich people throughout history, political and social causes were just something to talk about or something to make them look chic, like to be hip, you know? It's kind of interesting because in history, there was a time period, I want to say maybe around medieval time period, probably pre-Renaissance, pre-1400. In that time period, it was actually the rich people never talked about the poor people, and the rich people never wanted to talk about the poor people's problems. Those are poor people problems. You don't talk about that. Who cares about the poor people? The rich people didn't care. It was considered bad to talk about the poor people. Like, why? You're a rich person. Why are you talking about these poor people, right? So that happened until about the Renaissance. And then, you know, around, I'd say, the Enlightenment and the Renaissance period, there began to be some people who started looking at causes like something that you can use to get power. So for many people, rich people, social or political causes are not something that they always really care about. It's just something that they use to get more power or popularity. Right? Yeah, Eduardo, I think that most people don't want to be really honest about their language. They don't want to say I can't speak at all, because if they say that, then nobody will talk to you, right? So I think most people on Hello Talk are kind of lying about their ability, because if you are honest about your ability, then maybe nobody will talk to you, right? Can I understand different English accents around the world? Most of them, yes. Most of them. I have had trouble one time in my life. In my life, one time I met a guy from Scotland. And he had the strongest accent I've ever heard in my life. And it seemed like almost every third word he said was slang. It was like local Scottish slang that I didn't know. But it was very interesting to listen to. Yeah. They're not really rich people. Radical chic are more left-wing people, but of bourgeois class. Something I've seen you joke around with San Francisco. Okay. Left-wing bougies are always a little bit false. You know, I mean, for the same reason. You know, bougie is bougie. Okay? Bourgeoisie, right? So, the bourgeois class, they're always, we call it bougie. And it's still the same reason as the rich people. It's still the same reason, because it's like it's a way to show that you are part of that group, right? Oh, look, we care about this thing. Oh, I care too, you know? And for some of the rich people, it might be a way to make themselves seem more common. It might be a way to make them seem more empathetic and like they're not part of the problem when maybe they are. They might be part of the problem themselves, right? Scouse accent, sure, yeah, Scousers. When Adele speaks, can I understand her? Yes, I can. Yeah, I can understand Indian accents, German accents, French accents. Guys, I have been on this app for 12 years. I have talked to people in every single country in the world, every place in the world, and I've never had trouble. Not here on Hello Talk, ever. What's the strong history of the United States? Shaquille, I can't teach you that, man. That would take me an entire year to teach you about the history of the country. And it's ugly. You asked someone what's different between on purpose and deliberate. He told me a great question, but I don't work as a dictionary. Okay. Yeah, sometimes people will do that, Muhammad. Sometimes people can't explain it. They don't know how to explain it that well, okay? But on purpose and deliberate, they mean the same thing. They are not different. If you do something on purpose, then you did it deliberately. If you did something deliberately, then you did it on purpose. With purpose. With purpose is what on purpose means. Deliberate means to do something with purpose. Okay? Can you request a song? What song do you want to request? You're also learning English, but to be honest, you continue learning English. Now you're trying to use all that you know about English to help Others were Spanish. Okay, well, that's good. That helps, Eduardo. When you teach people Spanish, your English will get better. Okay? When am I going to visit Chicago? I don't know. I don't have any plans to go visit Chicago. I haven't been up there in many years. A few years. Shaquille, if you have a question, just write it here. Okay? Write it in the chat. If the American speaks Chinese and the Chinese people speak English, would Chinese become the international language instead? No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with popularity. Guys, why is English popular around the world? Hollywood. Does China have a Hollywood? No, it doesn't. You make movies, sure. China makes movies, but China does not make movies for an international audience yet. They are not caring about the international audience. They make movies just for China, right? So there are great movies you can watch that are Chinese movies, but they're made for the Chinese audience. But when they make movies in America, every movie that is made in America, they're thinking about the entire world. They're thinking about the biggest markets mostly, but they're still thinking about how this is going to go with the whole world. So we have music and TV and movies, and the way we market our products goes to everyone, right? So it's not about which one is better. It's about which one is more popular. That's it. Okay? When you were talking to somebody, you think maybe they were not where you think they were lying about their location. It's possible that happens too. You asked a teacher about Korean history, and he answered, "I don't know it well because I didn't live there at that time, like you too." Wow, that's rude. Well, but still, that's a bad answer. You know, I mean, it's okay to say I don't know. It's a good thing to say I don't know. But especially, I'm sorry, but you should know a little bit about your own history. A little bit. A little. You know? You want to learn about California history? California history. All right. Well, you have to learn about the gold rush, the 49ers. You have to learn about the Mexican-American War. There's a lot to know in California history. You are in the white knight after that one American bursted. Is it funny? I don't know what that means, Anna. I don't know what that means. You're in California, Justin. Okay. Well, there you go. Good for you. If you want to learn about California history, I'm not prepared to teach an entire class about California history off the top of my head. But if you want to know about California history, did you look? Did you ask? Did you go online and try to find anything about it? Because it's not hard. Okay, let's see. So here you go. Here are 2 pages that will teach you the history of California. There's one, and here's another. So, talking about the white knight phenomena, Anna, I still don't know what that is. We have another phrase that's white knight, like a knight in shining armor is a white knight, the white knight, but that's K-N-I. It's not N-I, right? It's a different thing. So I'm still not sure what the white knight phenomena is. That's not a term in English that I'm familiar with. White knight. Do I think, is California better than Florida? Yeah, I would go to California way before I go to Florida. Florida is beautiful, but I can't stand the people. You know a funny slang that's only from Ohio? Well, tell me, I'll tell you if it's true. Off the top of my head, that means without thinking more, right? Off the top of my head means without preparation or without preparing ahead of time, right? So just improvising. Improvising. Yeah, it's almost 3. Yeah, I've been here too long today. Wow, I went way too long today. Holy criminy. It's been 2 hours and 37 minutes, and I did 45 minutes earlier today, so I've been doing like almost 4 hours today. Too long. Too long. Chicago or Texas? Chicago. In a heartbeat. I can drive down to Texas and get some barbecue and then go back to Chicago where they're society. Chicago is a city. In Illinois is the state of Chicago. So it's Chicago, Illinois. That's the state. I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. It's a great city. So, guys, is it better than New York? I kind of think I think I do. I think I like Chicago better than New York. New York is too expensive, one. Chicago's not cheap, but not as bad as New York. And New York is almost too much sometimes. Sometimes New York is a little bit too much. Too complicated, too expensive, too difficult. But Chicago's not that bad. Yeah. Midnight Sun. So, yeah, that's not a very popular thing. Okay? That's why I've never heard of it. I had to look it up, Anna. When I looked up White Night, there are 2 ways that it's used. One is it means a sleepless night, like you didn't sleep last night. But I've never heard that ever in my life. I've never heard that term used that way. And then the other one is for a midnight sun. Like in St. Petersburg, Russia, or northern Scandinavia, when the sun sets so late and rises so early that it never truly gets dark, right? But that's only popular in that region of the world. We don't talk about that here because we don't have that in America. We don't have white nights here. Not in America. Or not in the 48, I'll say. Not in the lower 48. The view in the buildings of New York are very good. Well, so are the view of the buildings of Chicago. Have you ever seen the skyline of Chicago, man? The Chicago skyline is beautiful. Look at this. Let's see. This is the Chicago skyline. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Incredible views of the lake and of the city. Okay. Do I prefer modern cities or quiet rural areas? I'm a city guy. I like cities. I like cities. I like to visit the rural. I like to visit the nature, but I like to live in the city. Okay, I have to go, everybody. I've been here for 4 hours and my butt hurts. I've been sitting too long. We don't see them much in Hollywood films, more in New York. That's true. New York does get used a lot more in movies, but there are many, many movies with Chicago. You can go, that's one reason I like the show Shameless. The show Shameless, the American version, it does show a pretty good representation of South Side Chicago, real poor area of Chicago. It's not the rich area, but it's real. You know? So, okay, guys, I have to go. But thank you very much. Thanks for the wishes for my father. I appreciate it. And yeah, I know, again, guys, it's boring sometimes, but I'm telling you, I am as exciting as you make me. This classroom is as exciting as you want it to be. So if you come here with the right questions, then you'll get exciting answers and you'll get interesting ideas that you haven't heard before. Maybe. Okay? But if I just have to sit here, then I just sit here. You know? So say something. Ask me something. Challenge me. I enjoy being challenged. Okay? I don't want to argue. I'm not looking for an argument. I don't like debating in my classroom because that's never the right way to go about it. A debate is something you're supposed to prepare for, right? You study your topic, they study their topic, and then you debate with knowledge. But when you're debating without knowledge, that's not really a debate. It's just an argument. And I'm not interested in arguing when I'm here. You know, I'm here to enlighten and elucidate and to try to make clear. Okay? Okay. I will see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. So I'll see you guys tomorrow then, okay? Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening. Bye.